Carolina, we will not do that. We have 4 notaries in there right now. It is only for your building. If you have to do a building permit, if you need a certificate of occupancy notarized, that's what we will do. Some people are upset that we're not going to notarize other paperwork. This is what we're here for. We have a UCO website, unitedcivic.org. You should all be available to go on that website. In the past President David Israel had a blog. That was his personal blog. When he was no longer president, we had to do our own website. And that is the current website, unitedcivic.org. Anything that UCO has going on, we put on there. We have movies, shows, an agenda of the monthly meetings, and anything that WPRF has going on. If there's a closure of a pool, if there's anything that we can get to you, it is available on that website. Those 3 channels are 590, 591, and 592. Make yourself aware of those channels and look at them from time to time. A lot of effort goes in there to keeping those updated. In most cases, if WPRF notifies us that there's a problem at the Hastings Clubhouse, they send it to Joanne, and usually Joanne, within 1 or 2 hours, it's posted. So it's your best line of communications to find out what's going on. Paperwork available at the UCO office. Investigation forms for sales and rentals. Okay? If you have a sale that's going on, you're welcome to come in. We recommend that the officers come in and get that form, because there's information on there that you need to give it to either the new purchaser, the new renter, or the realtor. In most cases, the realtors that we have don't know how to read. Right on the front page, it says, when the application is filled, return it to the association. And what do? They bring it to UCO, and we send them to you. So if you handle that, be aware, notify them. Realtors are not your friends. They're going to hunt you down. We've got to push. They're not your friends, and you are in charge. Just make sure that it gets filled out correctly. The check must be to you and your organization, okay? Not to UCO, okay? I wouldn't recommend taking cash. We don't recommend. If you have a money order, you can. That's strictly up to you. But a check should be made out to the association, and the association in turn writes a check to UCO, drop it off, and we will proceed with your investigation. Now, why do you want to use UCO investigation? Well, it is part of the bilateral agreement that you all, like I just said, from 1999, that we do all your investigations. But there are some people that feel that they know better than our predecessors. If you have a lawsuit and you come to UCO, we did the investigation, and you get a legal opinion that you have the right to reject that individual, and you get sued, there's a $5,000 deductible that your association would be responsible for. If UCO did that investigation, they will pick up that $5,000 deductible. Okay, now just because yes, go ahead.
Okay, I question about the $150. Will you accept the money order?
No. It has to be from your association. Your association, whatever building you live in, has to make a check out to UCO. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Sure, go ahead.
Judy, the check needs to be from an
Excuse
associate.
me, Donald, I know the answer.
I understand, but this is
Okay.
for everybody, since you brought it up, all right? The check needs to be from an association account made out to UCO, and that establishes UCO as the association's client. That's the reason for this, okay?
again, like I said, there are some people that are promoting for you to do your own investigations. We personally don't recommend it, and there's, like I said, there is a contract between the association and UCO that we would do them for you. Also, I'm sorry that Eva just walked out, but the certificate of occupancy, if there's a transfer of ownership, is a form that is produced by WPRF, and they will only accept that specific form. If you type up your own form, or if you use one that she doesn't agree with, it's going to be turned away. The other thing is, we're going back, we went back a few months ago, and we said that all certificate of occupancies, whether it's a rental extension, an occupant, or a transfer of property, had to be typed up, and many people said, well, this is something new. For those of you that don't know, there was an agreement in February of 1997 that said that all certificate of occupancies will be given out by WPRF. Okay, so now coming to UCO and doing the investigation and getting that form is actually a blessing, because in 1997, you had to go to WPRF for them to issue that to you. I know that some officers feel that it's a burden. It's not a burden, because you're responsible for who lives in your building, and we want you to know who lives in your building, who's getting a rental extension. Okay. As most of you know, the village is divided into 4 quadrants. You have four vice presidents, and we have Jerry Satowski, you have Stuart Richland, and you have Patricia Caputo that just worked out. Those are 3 of your quadrant VPs. If you have a question pertaining to your building or something that you think that we could need to be clarified, contact your quadrant VP first, and they will try to guide you. The most important thing, yes,
Who's my quadrant VP?
which association are you in?
Northampton B.
Northampton?
B.
Doesn't matter. Northampton is Dominic Garnaggio. But if Dominic is not available, you can contact any of the other vice people. We all cover for each other. And if they're all busy, you can contact myself or Dominic. So you have 6 choices.
I have a question. Is it possible to get a sign for Northampton B? A street sign?
I'm sorry, Judy. I didn't hear what you said now.
Is it possible to get a street sign
A
for
street sign.
Northampton B? When you come down the street,
You want
the
a
right
sign that
side,
says
it says-
Northampton B?
we don't have, that's all the way down 5 blocks down.
Okay.
When you come down, on the right-hand side, the sign says Ascot, where Kent is. Across the street, where I am, Northampton, there is no street sign. There was one there that said Ascot, even though I'm living on Northampton, but they removed it, and they put nothing else there.
Who's they?
I don't know who they are.
Okay.
The sign disappeared.
All right, so why don't you contact your property manager? Let's find out whose responsibility this sign is or was, and we'll get it figured out. All right? Guys, just to keep the meeting rolling, so Costasso's kind of got an agenda. Let's keep individual issues about individual buildings and units for after the meeting, okay? Thank you.
Okay. Like I said, the biggest question that associations or individuals have are usually legal questions. Can I reject somebody? Can I sue somebody? Can I throw somebody out of my building? Can I prevent this guy from smoking, from having animals? Those are legal questions. And those legal questions, we're going to tell you, our favorite answer is, it's a legal question. Talk to your attorney. And that goes whether you're a unit owner, an officer, or an occupant of a unit. As an occupant, if you have an issue, the first person you should be calling is your landlord. Your landlord needs to contact the officers of the building and try to resolve the issue. People forget that. Okay. The other thing, if you are an officer of the building, there's some things going around, people saying you can self-manage. Why do we say you really shouldn't? Because to actually manage your building requires knowledge of 718, of rules, regulations, bylaws that pertain to each individual thing that they're going to do. Annual meeting, there's a procedure, there's a timeline to be followed. And unless you've been doing this for the last 20 years, and even then there's been changes, your management company is the first person to go to. Whether it's Seacrest or Pruitt, contact them. They will help you with your annual budgets, okay? Not everybody's an accountant, not everybody has had a business. They use that as a guideline. You know what your expenses are. If you're an officer, not too many months ago, Patricia and I were invited to go to an annual board meeting. And I know you're all gonna laugh. And we said, well, who's the treasurer? The gentleman raises his hand, he goes, I've been a treasurer for 9 years and I've never seen a budget. I've never seen a monthly report. Okay? Well, but this is, again, it becomes to that whoever the president, whoever the officers are, that if they're not getting that information directly, that you give it to them. You can, if you're a Seacrest and you want that budget should go to all your officers and especially your treasurer. Yes, sure, yeah.
Okay, mic broken.
You turn it on. Flip the switch. Give it her a
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. As per new statute that just was passed in July, you have to have an annual budget meeting, which means your management has to send out a notice to all the owners with a copy of the proposed, let's say 2025 budget, and the meeting has to be called within 14 days after that is sent out. This is new statute that all associations must adhere to now in order for you legally to be, let me rephrase that, in order for you not to be held responsible for not notifying all the owners of your association what your proposed budget is going to be. So not only do you have to have an annual meeting, you now have to have an annual budget meeting. Copies of that budget must be handed to all owners. You have to be as transparent as possible. And I just wanted to add one thing about what Dominic said before about UCO officers and associations in UCO. I got a call the other week. Can I please call Association X and please persuade them to accept this new buyer? I, in no way, shape, manner, or form, am allowed to call an association and tell them to accept somebody. That is solely on the discretion and decision of the association. So calling up an officer of UCO and asking them to please call the president and tell the president you must accept him, it's not going to happen and it's illegal. Yes, ma'am?
As far as the budget, not only do I hand it out, I hang it on our common board for 14 days. With a sign that says you can take a picture, you can knock on my door for a copy. It's so simple. Hang it on your common board.
I do the same thing, and I personally go around to all the owners and hand them a copy of our reserve study and our copy of our budget. And for those 3- and 4-story buildings, anybody sitting here, you must give a copy of your SERS report and your milestone report to every owner in the building. I'm sorry,
No, that's okay. Again, annual budgets are very important. I'm a Seacrest building. I got my official proposed budget, and 5 of my main line items were removed. Okay, so read the budget. Do not accept it. They eliminated my landscaping, they eliminated my legal fee, and they eliminated major lines that should be part of your. So for those of you that are officers, look into it and make sure that it is correct.
Also legally, you have to have your budget fully funded for the items that has to be in your reserve study. That's as of, again, July of this year.
Yes,
Has the budget been sent out from Seacrest?
Seacrest is sending them out.
They're sending them out?
Yes.
Have not been-
If you haven't received it by Monday, call your property manager and say, I haven't received it.
The only thing that Seacrest basically is telling us is that they're waiting for final numbers from the insurance, which
Right.
we do not have, but they said to anticipate a 5 to 10% increase in building insurance.
So again, about self-managing, you need to follow the proper procedure. After you've had your annual meeting, there's a form that needs to be filled out within a timely fashion, sent with a check to sunbiz.org. That's how each individual corporation in the state of Florida gets their information. That form needs to be filled out. The managed company usually does that for you. The form that they use is only for the state. We have 309 associations in Century Village. The form that we have for the delegates to represent your individual association is available at the front desk. We will not accept the form that Seacrest has, and we have people that do that because they're lazy. They make a photocopy and they bring it in. That will not be acceptable. Why not? Because the form that you have for Sunbiz doesn't have any alternate delegates. It just lists your officers. So if you're going to have anybody else other than the president or one other person, who, for those that have two delegates, that form needs to be filled out. Needs to be signed by the president, corporate seal, bring it to the front desk of UCO within a few days of your annual meeting, have it stamped and ask for a copy of it. We will give it to you so that you know, we know the date. Yes, ma'am?
I was looking at that, the reason we have made our own is because you only allow for 2 board members. So I have to ask.
That's not true.
I only saw 2 board members on the front page that you just put in for in your PDF or whatever you sent us. No?
No, are you talking about what Donald sent out?
It must be one.
Yeah, believe it or not, that's a two-sided form.
Yeah,
So
and I sent both sides.
And we sent both sides.
So there's,
Stop by the office, I'll give you a paper copy.
thank
Yeah,
you.
it was just to make you familiar with what the form looks like.
Okay, so there's
Okay,
room for more
but
board members.
you cannot, there's no limit as to how many alternate board members you're allowed to put on there. Alternate delegates, I'm sorry.
But it's not board members, so we have like 5, 6 board members. Right?
Okay.
So I think it says 2 board members on there, so I have to add to it. I'm the secretary.
You just keep going down the list, but if you want them to be a delegate to represent your association, you need to fill it on the back side. It says additional delegates. So you need to put them on there,
Thank you.
okay? Violation letters, you have an individual, whether it's a renter, whether it's a unit owner, that is breaking the rules, regulations, and bylaws of your building. The first person you want to contact is your property manager. Say, listen, I have a problem with an individual, whether they, let's say they're behind in their monthly payments or whatever the situation is, your property manager will send that first letter out for you. Use that. If there's no response to that, then you have to hire your attorney and send it to the individual. We covered the form for the delegates, that's available at the front desk, okay? You need an attorney, especially today in the litigious world that we have, that everybody wants to sue for everything and everybody, okay? We're not lawyers, we have experience, we know that, we've all lived in Century Village for a while, some of us more than others. I'm here 24 years and I've seen some terrific changes. You need an attorney. The laws change every day. Jerry mentioned before, July 1st, there was many, many new rules, regulations, and laws that came into effect that affects 7/18. Okay? You gotta stay updated, and if you don't stay updated, your attorney will tell you where you can go with that. You also need to update your governing documents and your bylaws. A lot of people say, well, I'm putting in a bylaw change that there's no pets, or you can only have a dog that weighs 10 pounds. That's your bylaws. But if your governing documents, your declaration of condominium, are silent on that, or they don't say anything, guess what? You cannot restrict that 10-pound dog. People do not understand that. And only your lawyer is going to be able to review all your documents so that you know that you're doing the right thing.
If people come into us at UCO with their 1999 documents, and they ask, these are the only documents that I have, is it applicable for what the association wants to do? And the answer is yes. If you don't have documents that are dated 2020, 2021, 2024, then the documents that govern your association are the 1999 documents. I had somebody come in the other day about fines. Somebody's putting his wash on a chair outside his condo. Can we fine him? You could do whatever, but it has to be done, like Fasto said, you speak to your attorney, and there is a procedure before you could go ahead and fine somebody. So these are things why it's really important that you discuss with your attorney the procedures that have to be done. Because the person came in and said, well, I'm going to fine him $100 a day unless he takes that laundry off the chair. It cannot be done that way. There is a procedure. Yes, ma'am.
A perfect example in our building is that we had, in the bylaw of 1999, it said 3 people can live in a 1-bedroom unit. We made an amendment because when I called, you cannot have 3 people with a 1 bathroom, the code said.
Correct.
So we went to our attorney and made the amendment, and we had to vote on it, that only 2 people can live in a 1-bedroom. You have to make the amendments to your
Right.
documents.
We had somebody in my building who wants to put a washing machine and dryer in her apartment. We looked through our documents. We don't have it in our documents. I contacted our attorney and I said, please add that in. We do not want to have anybody having their own laundry, washer and dryer in their apartment for electric and plumbing reasons.
Yeah, you have to have 51%.
Yeah, which is
At least 51%.
at least 51%.
Your documents may say higher.
Yeah. so-
My documents say 2/3.
But it's important that you read your documents, and especially if you are board or association members, update the documents to 2024. I know people are it's going to cost. In the long run, it's going to cost you more by not updating the documents. And there are ways that you could spread out the cost of the documents. You don't have to do everything in 1 year. You could try to do it in over 2 or 3 years. But the important thing is to get those documents updated from 1999.
Real quick before I send this back to Fausto, on the issue of fines, I've discovered that fining is actually an effective way to get compliance from individual unit owners or residents. But like Jerry said, there's statute, and the statute is you have to have a separate fining committee of no less than 3 unit owners who are not related by blood or marriage to anybody on the board. That's what makes it difficult to have a fining committee in Century Village. Some of us have a hard time putting together a board. How are you going to get 3 more that we're not
And they
related
can't
to?
be officers.
They can't be members of the board. They can't be related to members of the board. So that makes it a little difficult. But even if you can get that going, and I believe some of the bigger buildings could, Fastos, for instance, Jerry's, then there's rules that you really need to have your attorney look at. There's a mechanism for appeal, for instance. So that's it on fines.
Yes, Judy?
On updating the documents, as a owner, can I request that the documents be updated?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And this is the board's responsibility.
It's the board's responsibility, exactly. Again, we are living in the year 2024, almost 2025. I cannot see how 1999 rules and regulations can be applicable to now. And when I sat down with our attorney, he pointed out certain things that in 1999 were fine, they don't even apply anymore now. So it's really, you must insist that your documents are brought up to date.
Get, get,
In 1999, was it Yuko that did the documents that we all agreed to at that time?
Yes, back in 1999, Yuko, as a service to their clients, the 309 Associations of Century Village, had a set of model documents created.
Right,
And each of the associations were encouraged to adopt them, and most did.
yeah.
Some made some minor tune-ups for their buildings, which they can do, and over the years, they've added to it. But yes, it was originally a Yuko-sponsored project.
So does Yuko have plans, since you're telling us these should be updated, does Yuko have plans?
Not at this time.
not at this
No,
time.
and I'm
Why
just,
not?
I'm gonna tell you why not, because I recently updated my documents, and our attorney sat with us and went through article by article and asked us what is applicable for our building and what is not applicable for our building. And that's why Yuko is not the one to decide what's gonna be applicable for you. You are the ones who are gonna decide what's applicable for you.
This is my personal opinion. These buildings were put together 50 years ago or more. At the time, most of the documents were identical. But over 50 years, as the associations evolved, what they wanted for their own personal communities are so you have no smoking buildings, you have no rental buildings, you have unrestricted rental buildings.
No
You have
pet buildings.
Pets, no pets, restricted pets. Each of the associations kind of evolved in their own way, so I would say it's very difficult to put together a one-size-fit-all document set for us anymore.
Yes,
On the financial board, can you have somebody, or even a board member, from another building be on your financial board?
The answer is maybe yes, maybe no. I hate saying that, but it's true. All right, if your documents say only a unit owner of the association can be on the board, then no. If your documents are silent, which many of us are, mine are silent in this regard, you can put anybody on your board as long as they are 18 years old or over, not a felon, and an actual person, not a corporate entity. I've actually recommended this as a, you have a building across the street. You're identical buildings, you have similar budgets, you have similar concerns. Why not swap? You go on his, he goes on yours, and that's how you fill your board. I think it's a very reasonable way to fill out boards with people who really care about how the building is going to work. But the documents may not allow it. You got to take a look.
Yeah, all right.
wasn't there, yes, Judy?
On the budget and updating it, when that meeting occurs, is that for just the board members?
All.
Or the residents and?
A budget-
All the owners.
The
All
budget
the
meeting
owners.
is a board meeting. The board approves the budget, but all unit owners are entitled to
Not the
attend.
budget, we're talking about updating of the documents.
The updating of the documents would be done by the board, but the final approval of the update would need to be voted on by the entire membership with no less than a 51% majority.
Does the membership have an input?
Absolutely.
that's the vote.
Absolutely.
Anything that involves everybody gets voted on by everybody. That's the quick rule of thumb. In that particular case, your board would have the opportunity, your membership would need to vote on the amendment. And again, the minimum would be 51%. If you did that in my building, you'd have to have 2/3, 66 and a third.
But before the documents are recorded and filed, you have to have a meeting of the whole entire association. And then, in that meeting, the membership will either say, okay, fine, we need to change this, or leave it alone, or whatever. Then it gets voted, and then it has to be recorded and filed with the county.
But you need to talk to your attorney.
Right. Your attorney will tell you the process as to what exactly has to be done.
Debbie?
This is the owners, or is this all the renters too that have?
Owners.
Renters have nothing to say with the
Owners.
governance of the building.
Okay.
I'll give you an example, just real quick. So, my own building, I wanted to use some money out of my roof reserve to paint the building. And I said, well, we'll just do it. Well, no, I have a property manager. Property manager said, no, that's Shauna. I needed to have a membership vote to authorize the board to take that money out of that reserve and use it to paint the house. So I needed 18 affirmative votes out of 24 in order to make that happen, and we did. That's an instance where the membership gets to vote. And sometimes it's a board decision, and sometimes it's a membership decision. Depends on the thing.
We're throwing around documents. Well, there are 3 major documents that you should be aware of if you're an officer of the building, or even if you're just a unit owner. The Declaration of Condominium, the Articles of Incorporation, and your bylaws. That's why you need an attorney, because if in the past, people have made changes to their bylaws, but their governing documents either don't cover it, don't discuss it. There's 309 association. I guarantee you that there is nobody here knows to change a bylaw, how many people, how many unit owners have to vote. So, like Donald just said, some say 51%. I've seen documents that say 100%. 100% of the people, but the Declaration of Condominium doesn't say that. So it's a bylaw, so you need an attorney to interpret how many people you need actually to change your bylaws or to make amendments to that. Familiarize yourself with those papers, especially with what's coming down the pike. Okay. I think we discussed that pretty well. Before I turn it over to Eva, there's a program for those of you that are officers. It's called the Asset Recovery Program. This program was put together in conjunction with Mr. Ed Black and WPRF. If you have a unit owner that is more than 3 months, 4 months in the rears, okay? Before you try to foreclose, before you try to do anything, contact WPRF and they will see if their rec lease facilities are behind also. Only if they are, WPRF is owed money, and if there's no mortgage on the property, they will work with you. They'll research it, you'll get a contract to sign, they will file for a foreclosure procedure. The nice thing about that, you put no money out of your pocket, and they do all the paperwork for you. If it goes through, they take their money, whatever their cost is, you get your money that's owed, and whatever's left, if there's an estate or something, goes to them. Why is this important? Personal experience. I used an attorney. It took 7 years, and $10,000 for me to foreclose on an apartment. The last one that I did was 15 months, and I got all my money. Okay? It was easy. They took care of everything. Now, a lot of people are not, like I learned the hard way. The reason why it took 7 years, because when you file for that lien on the property to foreclose, that paper needs to be updated annually. So if you don't know about it, in my particular case, the president was out, I was the new president, and I thought there was a foreclosure. Come to find out 3 months later that that was never updated. So we had to start all over again. Once WPRF is involved, they take care of all of that. But the criteria, they need to be owed money, and there's no mortgage on it. One of the things as officers, check your monthly, when you get your paperwork, who's in the rears. Every budget has a line item, and if you're an officer, bad debt. Everybody knows what bad debt is, right? Uh-oh. Bad debt is the money that every single unit owner is paying for the people that are not making payments to your budget, to pay your bills. So think about it. If you let somebody, we've had people 7 years that an apartment is empty, haven't made any payments, and every single unit owner is paying for that people not paying. Okay? It's not fair. Yes, sir.
So in the monthly financial statements that come from Seacrest, it includes who's behind in their
Absolutely.
building, but we never know who's behind with their WPRF. Do we, as a board, need to know and be notified of that?
What you need to do, if you have a unit that's more than 90 days, I would have your management company send a letter to that unit owner, say, listen, you have 30 days in which to get your finances in order. If you don't, now fourth month comes, that's when you contact WPRF or in between. Find out, we used to deal with Monica, but now Eva, you can call Eva, give her the address and the information. She will check on it for you, and she will get back and say, yes, they owe us money too.
Right, but we don't know if they're behind in their WPRF payments. Are we
You-
supposed to?
No, you gotta worry about your building.
Okay, great, you answered the question, thanks.
Yeah, go ahead, Eva.
I know that everybody wants to know what WPRF is owed, but we don't make the building responsible for what's owed to WPRF. Even though it's in our documents that we can, we do not. So it's really about what's owed to you. We can confirm that there's something owed, but we would not share the amount. But it doesn't make a difference, because
Great.
we don't come after the building to make up the money's lost.
Lisa,
Yes.
if, we went through a foreclosure in our building, and we weren't aware that they owed WPRF, and we ended up having to pay WPRF, I think, $5,000. So, we are responsible.
In that regard, yes,
Yes.
but that means that your attorney didn't do a good job looking to see what liens were out there.
Yeah, I mean, we found out eventually,
Yes.
we didn't know that the homeowner was.
Right.
But it ends up that the building is responsible if somebody owes WPRF and you take it over.
Well, ma'am, in your case, I believe this is a situation where your association took over ownership
Right.
of a unit.
Right.
Once you buy a unit, you buy the obligations attached to the unit, right?
But again, it was an attorney
Why
issue.
don't we get notified
Right.
that this is the question, I think, that this gentleman asked.
You get notified every month.
We don't get
No,
notified.
the financial obligation between the unit owner and WPRF is exactly that. There is no obligation involving the association. Once you became that unit owner, then you got told what you owed.
Yeah.
But until then, it's between the unit owner and WPRF. That's an individual obligation.
Okay.
But then it becomes the building.
Well-
It only, I'm sorry, it only becomes a building obligation when you own the unit.
You get no prior notice.
No, because it's not your business until you own it.
But if you had done the foreclosure either through WPRF or with an attorney that did all the research, all of those liens would have been able to come up.
We did it through attorney.
Well-
That's when we knew what the liens were. Prior to that,
Yeah, but you didn't know there was a lien from WPRF.
yeah, no, we knew it. The attorney told us, but it went back years and we hadn't been notified.
Okay.
That's what, my point is, we don't get notified, but then we're responsible for paying.
In your case, that's correct.
Yeah.
You buy the building.
Was there a question back there? You had your hand up?
Well, I guess the point is, and I was over at Mary Petro's office the other day, there is someone in our unit that's paying maybe $10 less a month in error, okay? They don't know how to get a hold of that person because they only have the address at this location here and they're not here. So in that situation, would I want to know any information or just ignore it?
Are they paying the correct amount to you?
They're not paying the correct amount to
I'm
WPRF.
talking, are they paying the right amount to the building?
They're paying the right amount to the building, so I shouldn't worry about it.
I shouldn't work, that's right. WPRF is the one that they're gonna have to go after that individual.
Okay, and if they need to contact the building for any reason, they'll do that.
Right, they'll work with you.
Great, thanks.
They wanna get paid just like we do.
Sure, thank you.
In most cases, when we hear horror stories, 5 years, 7 years, that people have not paid, and if you're lucky to get 1 year of rear payments to your building. Okay, so it pays for you to stay on top of it.
For this reason, Mr. Brenner, and I tell everybody this, we all should be following the same schedule when it comes to collecting what's owed to the association. We have to all do it the same way, and we all have to do it evenly and fairly. 30 days in arrears, letter from the property manager. 60 days, letter from the lawyer. 90 days, second letter from the lawyer, place lien. 120 days, begin foreclosure. You do it the same way every time, so nobody say that you gave special treatment to a person who was maybe in some financial issues or whatever. Fortunately, as a board member, as a trustee, you have one job, is to get paid. And that's tough sometimes in a small association where we're friends with these people. But that's just how it is. When you give forbearance or a payment plan to an individual unit owner, you, a board member, have given essentially an interest-free loan. And you're not authorized to do that. None of us are.
Okay, before we move on, we've told you what UCO does. I'm now gonna turn it over to Eva, and she'll give you WPRF's responsibility, and then the last part will be what your responsibility is as unit owners and as officers of your building.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so main function that puts us in touch with the boards and working with the boards is the ID office. And that's very important because everybody wants that ID. The only ID that does not have an expiration date is the resident ID. All other IDs have expiration dates. You're having problems with a tenant or an occupant, you can rescind that ID. You know, you're gonna contact, as Fausto said, you're gonna contact your management company, you're gonna take certain steps, but we're also able to help where you would have to give us a letter with 2 board member signatures and the seal saying that you want to rescind that person's ID. And I will do a BOLO, be on the lookout for. And if they present it, we will take it back from them. And that might help you get them to cooperate because they don't want to lose that ID. So that's a possibility. If they also have a barcode on the card, that can be turned off. And then they have to use their ID to get into the gate, so a lot of times that's how we get them back. So you do have that option open to you. One of the most important things for us is that everybody update their name, their address and phone number with our office, because there are many times where we might need to reach out to a board member, and we are unable to do so because they've changed their number. All right, so if you have a northern address and we can't reach you at your Century Village address, we need everyone to keep their addresses and phone numbers, specifically the phone numbers, very, very important for us.
Do you have a form for that?
You can just call. You know, you can call Mary, you can call the ID office. Right? We have suggestion slips. If you want to write it on that and turn it in, you can absolutely do that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Why do we rescind their ID?
Well, if you're having problems with them and they don't want to cooperate with you, you're having problems with a tenant or you're having problems with an occupant, you can rescind that ID. It's extra leverage.
Even though they've paid their, say it's a renter, or an owner, you wouldn't, say it's a renter, so if they paid their rent to the owner, I can still, the board could still rescind their ID?
Yes.
Or having, giving us issues?
Yes, trying to get them to come in line. I work with the buildings on that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hi, Mary Ann Somerset G. I want to talk for a second about the tennis court, being that's your recreation. I even drew a diagram I want you to know. I'm proud of that. The top, I'll call them tops, you may call them screens, I don't know what they are, the things you hang and then you take down for the hurricane season.
Yes.
Okay. Our building is the only building that butts up against that tennis court. It's actually about 40 feet away from our building.
What I would say is that that's not what this meeting is for,
Okay.
but if you'll see me after the meeting, then I will be happy to see what it is that you're talking about and see what we can do about it.
Okay.
I do want to address the fact that you changed your documents, that you will not allow 3 people to occupy a 1-bedroom apartment. WPRF will only issue up to 2 IDs on a 1-bedroom and up to 3 on a 2-bedroom.
Correct.
So if you were allowing 3 people in there, only 2 were going to be able to get an ID.
Yeah, we don't allow 3.
Okay, good. Well, just so all of you
Yeah,
know
we made
that.
that amendment, so.
Right.
And we do tell them, we tell them new people are coming in, you know, if you're unsure about what you're doing, knock on a door. Here's all, and it's listed on our common board, president's address, vice president. So if you're not sure in my building, you ask.
Right. Right, well, a lot of people don't ask, they just do. They figure, I'll do, and then if I did something wrong, I'll take the slap on the hand later,
I'd rather, yeah,
you know, so,
I just wanted to let you know that the people in my building were very pleased when they got the notice that the fees were being increased, WPRF fees.
okay. So I'm gonna tell you where that credit belongs. And you're looking at them right here. Okay, they came to us ahead of us putting the budget together, saying, you know, with all the increase in prices, especially insurance, and we know that they're gonna go up again because of Helene and Milton, all right? So they asked if we could present less projects, all right, because they wanted to reduce the coupon amount. So, you wanna thank anybody? Those are the people you need to thank.
It was a cooperative situation.
Yes.
It was working together. We reached out and we agreed to a compromise, and the bottom line, unit owners saved $7. So,
Yeah, but thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm new to this. I have a couple of questions. One is, I want to just go back to, there were 3 major documents that you.
Yes.
There was, I missed one of those. Those documents were, Wakanda, and bylaws. There's a third one.
articles, okay. Articles of incorporation. Okay. And declaration of condominium in your bylaws. Okay.
The second one was the question that you asked and presents a little question for me as a renter, and this is new, I'm here just trying to figure out all the nuances of the association. And it mentions you can rescind the barcode if you don't get along with the person. And getting along, what that definition means for some people can be a little different than others.
Right.
And that scares me a little bit, because if I don't agree with you, that means that, I get.
It's not that simple, it has to be on a much more higher scale what's going on, but I think, is it Donald who's gonna check on that?
Donald,
Okay.
Yeah, hello, Mr. O'Day, and I guess this is a continuation of our conversation that we had yesterday. Barcodes are issued by Yugo, by us. Your barcode can be turned off at the request of your association. We work for the association is our client. When the association has a troublesome resident, owner or otherwise, one of the things that they can do to get control of the situation is to request that we turn off their guest call-in privileges, their contractor call-in privileges, and their barcode. And we will do that at the request of the association. May I ask if your barcode has been turned off?
No, I'm just saying that the ability to do that, if I disagree with something,
Then that's something you would have to take up with your board directly. But that,
not an individual, but the board.
the board, and by the way, almost every request to turn off a barcode or guest call-in privileges really runs through me, so I would know if your board has done that.
It
Had a
requ-
good reason.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Because on an owner's son who moved in
Exactly.
under the cloak of handicap father, and all drug people come.
Exactly.
And I said, I had the barcode turned off because he was having these people.
And this is the reason when these requests are routed to me, the first thing I'm gonna ask is why.
Exactly.
Because if you're not gonna be reasonable, I'm going to be reasonable.
But just so that you're aware, it requires a request for us to turn it off, corporate seal of your building, and 2 officers to sign it. That's why when we were talking to you yesterday, there are other people on the board other than the one individual.
And even with that, we will never stop a resident from getting through those gates and getting to their homes. We can turn off their barcodes at your request, we can turn off but they'll still be able to access their homes, they'll still be able to have guests, it'll be a little more difficult for them to get them in, but it won't keep them out of and that's something I have to tell boards almost every week, that just because we turn this stuff off at your request, doesn't mean they're not getting in. If you have a resident in your building that you don't want to be there, you need to go to your lawyer and you need to start legal proceedings. okay?
Yes, sir.
Regarding the barcodes,
Yes.
if a driver is anxious to get home and goes a little bit too fast and too close to the car in front, the gate won't open.
Right.
All that's necessary is to back up a few feet, then
You don't back up.
Please,
Do not back up.
please.
you look behind to see whether anybody's there or not.
Do not back up. If they're having a problem, if your barcode did not work, a security guard will come out, they will interact with you, and they will let you in. Do not back up.
Yes, but sometimes that interaction is based on the assumption that there's something wrong. I had my card taken away once. I was given a card to, another time to come in, pay for a new barcode. And
Right.
All I needed was to back up 2 feet, and that would have solved the
Do
problem.
not back up.
But then this other stuff is just a hassle.
Do not back up.
Living in a gated community is sometimes a hassle. The payoff of the hassle is we have a more secure community. That barcode, that gate arm needs to close in between each car as it comes in. When you have piggybacking, because someone's in a rush and eager to get in, that causes a smasheroos with the barcode, with the gate arms. And number two, we may not know somebody who's getting into the village that maybe shouldn't be there. So we ask everyone to please be patient, wait for that gate arm to go down and come up again, flash green, and then go through.
Oh, just, hold on, Judy. If you have any doubt of what I tell you not to back up, spend 20 minutes, go to the Okeechobee Guardhouse, and stand on the side and watch people pull up at 40 miles an hour while you're trying to back up. Very few people do 15 miles an hour. Most of them do 20 or 25. And if you're backing up, you're going to be hitting them. That's why we do not recommend backing up. Let the guards come out, tell you what the problem is, and we'll fix it for you. Yes, Judy?
Bosco, would you please reiterate what you said in reference to closing down a person coming in the gate? That one board member, president, the vice president, or whomever, does not have that authority.
You need 2 signatures and a corporate seal of your building for us to consider removing your access to calling in people or access to the village, which are shutting down your barcode.
We shut down very few barcodes because we take that action very seriously. This is access to somebody's home,
Yes.
all right? And there's a reason why we put 2 signature lines on that form, because we don't want an individual board member making decisions without the entire board knowing. That's kind of on your end, guys. You gotta make sure your boards, all the board members are aware of what's going on.
Up until today, Don, I was unaware that there was a form, and that the 2 signatures and a seal had to go in.
There's no form.
It's a letter.
It's a letter.
We want
It's
a
a
letter
letter.
on letterhead.
Yeah.
Okay.
From your association that you had a meeting, XY person, we would like to turn off your barcode, and 2 officers' signatures and your corporate seal. Not a form. Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes when I go to the Okeechobee gate, my barcode doesn't work, but if I go to the Haverhill gate, it works. Why
Okay.
is that?
That's very simple. The Haverhill Guardhouse was hit by lightning 2 weeks in a row, and all the equipment there had been updated or replaced several months ago. So for some reason, that is more sensitive to reading the barcodes, whereas on Okeechobee, the equipment is not as sensitive. So we are looking into it. We've had the equipment checked out, and if it needs to be replaced, we will replace it.
When I go to you go to the gate, you did something with the information and.
Right, update.
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay,
And everything's fine now.
good.
Just want to add one thing. On the other hand, this happened to you the other week. There was a gentleman who didn't want to wait online, didn't have and just used his ID card to try to come in and went into the barcode line. After 3 times, you get your ID taken away. Is that correct?
Yes,
Just want to elaborate on that?
yeah. If you get a gray card to come in and either update because you had a problem with your ID, You will get 2 of those. There's a record, I get a record once a week as to how many people are coming in and out. On the 3rd time, when the guard comes out, they're not gonna give you a gray card. They're gonna remove your Century Village ID. And you're gonna have, and we're gonna turn off your barcode. Okay? Yes, sir.
Sometime you're saying when we're having some issues with some owners or tenants, you're saying that get involved with our lawyer. Do you guys got some lawyers that are some sort of preferred that we could deal with them? Because
to you.
because sometimes
We have
they
no
know the
preferred
business
lawyers
inside
list.
now, or
No.
firm or something. Because they would know they already what's happening here in the village.
There are several lawyers that, no.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
There are lawyers in the Yuko Reporter. Your association can look up the lawyers, call the lawyers up. We cannot tell you which lawyer to choose. We can't. That's an association decision. Look at the Yuko Reporter, and lawyers advertise there every month. And you could choose from them who you want to contact.
And those lawyers are specialists in condominium law, which is important.
We're gonna go back to Eva. Do you have anything else?
Yes. So just to make you feel a little better, we're not talking about that you're disagreeing about the color of the flowers that were planted in front of the building and there's a discrepancy and that something like that could, shut down, or we could take your ID card for that. So it's got to be something that's really escalated that you can't handle in the building and you're just looking for a little bit extra leverage, sometimes saying that, you can lose your ID over this can help in that regard. I do want to say that WPRF, sometimes I get COAs and I'll notice that there are a husband and wife or 2 people living in the same unit that are on the board and that they've signed, those are the 2 signatures on the form. We will kick that back. I will not accept a form, a COA, that has 2 people that are on the board and live in the same unit. Okay, so that's a big no-no. So
And
I would say
same
don't
here
even
on the
go
other
there.
side.
Yeah.
Same here on the other side.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that old IDs issued, meaning tenant IDs, occupant IDs, if they're not turned in at the end of the expiration, it can interfere with the issuance of new IDs. So that's always something to keep in mind, and if you've got renters or occupants, to remind them of that. If their expiration date is coming due and they're going to be moving on, they're not going to be renewing, you're not renewing them. That's something that's very important because then we have an issue in the ID office. We're supposed to have the old IDs. I can't tell you how many IDs are confiscated that people just never give back, but they live close enough that they think they're going to come in, no one's going to notice that the card expired, all right, and then they're coming in to use the facilities and visit with their friends because they don't want to pay a guest fee, all right? So we take back a tremendous amount of cards. I don't know what people think expiration means, but it no longer works. So that's another thing to consider. The other thing I wanted to talk about, personal aids. So now you have caregivers. Caregivers are classified as having been vetted by the company they work for. They've done their background check and they wear the ID of the company that they're working for. Then there are personal aids. Personal aids is a friend of the family, a family member, or somebody that they just hire for a newspaper ad, all right? But those people need to have personal aid IDs. They're not entitled to an occupant ID. They should have personal aid IDs. They're free, all right? So that's something that you should keep in mind. They're only good for 3 months at a time, but you don't know what you're getting in a personal aid. I've heard stories where personal aids park where they want and they, so this again gives the building leverage to say, we're not going to approve you for another 3 months because you're not following our rules, all right? So it's actually giving the building teeth to deal with the situation because sometimes people, they have aids, they change constantly. So they should have a WPRF ID, and that's what you would need to check off. A personal aid form specific to that. You can pick it up at the ID office. Yes, sir.
So if there is personal aid that's going to be living in a unit with an elderly woman, and she's going to be staying there longer than 30 days, she then needs to go through a background check at the building board discretion, is that correct?
It's up to the board to decide if
board.
that's what they want to do.
Okay.
You know, I had a situation where this man didn't have the money to hire someone, so what he was doing was he was allowing felons, prisoners to come. He would give them his address because they needed an address to provide, to get mail, but the trade-off was that they would drive him to his doctors. So he had people that were coming out of jail, and the women in the building, all single, were terrified because they knew that they were had just come out of jail, and they felt very vulnerable. And he just had 4, 5, 6 of them. You know, so you want to have control over that. Okay, so they have to have the ID, and that ID does not allow them to use the facility without their charge, the person that they're supposed to be taking care of. So if you have any questions, additional questions about that, or come up to my office anytime, we'll explain it, show you the form. Okay, and I think that just about does it for me, Fausto.
Hey, Fausto.
Yes.
Talking about security and talking about the gate, just FYI for education for the team out there, we had a relative that came in the other day. We called her in. She went, they checked the phone thing. They did not ask her for any picture ID. So she got in without any proof of ID.
Mr. Brenner, when you get reports like that, it's important that you get in touch with us or me quickly.
Okay.
I need to know the where, the when, the how, because I need to go back and check the video.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right? So
Sure.
if you send me the specifics, I'll make sure Daniel follows up on it.
Okay.
All right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do we get in touch with you?
Sorry, say that again?
How do we get in touch with you immediately regarding security?
I think you know how to get in touch with me.
You can call Donald.
Listen, I have an email address, yukomaintenance@gmail.com.
Okay, and is that an immediate response? Because I called
Well,
security.
let me ask you this. In this meeting, how many times did you see me take my glasses off and stare at this thing? It's about as quick as you can imagine. I check it constantly.
I called security and I was
I
told.
do sleep sometimes.
Okay, you called security and what happened?
I asked for Daniel because usually he's very responsive.
Of course.
He's not here. Can I leave a message? No, I'm sorry, you'll have to call tomorrow. So that was not an immediate response for me.
Listen, if it's something of an emergency nature that needs immediate response, and that means fire, flood, or blood, please dial 911. That's emergency. But if it's something that's immediate, but wait till the next day, send Daniel an email, send me an email. We will always respond to you. And in my case, Sundays, holidays, doesn't matter. I get back to you guys.
I do not have Daniel's email.
You have my email, ma'am. It's yukomaintenance@gmail.com. Has anyone here sent me an email and waited a long time for a response?
No.
No? Anybody? It's okay, I'm not mad.
Now, when it comes to an issue with security in the guardhouses, we need which guardhouse, what time, and what date. That's the most important
Who
thing.
and where and when, because there's, you got 24 hours or more of video to look at. It's very helpful if we know where, when, because it could take hours and hours to find what we're looking for, but we do look.
Yes, Judy?
Compliment.
Oh, no.
At one point in time, I was getting calls asking me if I authorized XYZ to come in through the gate. And I would say, yes. And then I start thinking about it. Wait a minute. I don't know who that person is. Why were they calling me for authorization to come through the gate? So I start questioning. When they called me to say, Judy Blah, so-and-so, I said, no. After I said no 3 times, I have not received any more of those calls for me to authorize someone to come through the gate.
Yeah, that's standard procedure. If someone comes in and is not on the gate, but insists that you're expecting them, they'll make every effort to call you and see whether it's okay to let the person in. And if necessary, they'll escort them to your unit as well.
To add on to that, it came to our attention that we have repairmen, we have real estate people that attach themselves to a specific number. So if you get more than 2 phone calls that somebody's that you did not, we need to know. We've got to know. We had one poor individual lady that we found, 4 realtors were all using her name and her address to get into the village. Okay? So, but if we don't know, we can't fix it.
Well, you
Okay?
fixed mine.
Well, I'm good. Hey, we did something good today. All right. Now, yes, ma'am. Go
I
ahead,
have a
Judy.
question about the recertification. We all was certified 2 years ago. and
Doesn't
it's-
matter.
And it's the same board.
It's not,
Do we
it doesn't
still
matter.
have to be
We're gonna cover that right now. We're coming into the final section. So far, we've told you what we do, what our responsibility, and what Eva's responsibility in WPRS. Now we're going to find out the meat and potatoes, what every board member should be responsible for on their board. And I'm sure you're all gonna run in and become board members. Okay. You must have a board of directors. Recently, I was looking through our sheets, and I found a gentleman that was the president, secretary, treasurer. He was the only person, and he'd been there since 2018. Okay? If something happens to that individual, how can we help the building? Okay? So one, you gotta file it every year, and you should have board members there to help you. You must have annual elections. Like Judy just said, it's the same people for the last 5 years. Hogwash. Okay? You need to fill in a new form. When it comes to the current rules and regulations, we're gonna cover that shortly. You've got to maintain your building. Now, years ago, Seacrest used to walk around the building once a month. Then they went every 3 months. Now they're doing it semi-annually. As a board member, walk around your building. Or if you have a good tenant, if you have a good person living in your building, say, hey, Joe, come, let's walk around the building, see if you see something that needs to be fixed, and contact your property manager that you haven't seen in 5 months. Work with your management company. A lot of people, whatever their problem is in their building, the first person they call is Donald. And guess what Donald does? He calls Seacrest, because it's a Seacrest issue. You know, the exit light is broken. How do I fix it? Contact Seacrest. No, not Donald. We're not responsible for your individual buildings. If you're an officer, if you're a unit owner, or you are a tenant in the building, that's your home. Treat it as your home. Notify the board, and hopefully the board will work in a positive note to try to repair those things. The board is responsible for proper paperwork. Not the new owner, not the tenant, not the lawyer, not the individual caretaker. We get people that come in and bring us paperwork. Well, who are you? Well, I'm the aunt, and my uncle's father is the one that's gonna be a resident in the building. We don't need that. The board has to come down. And it's amazing, like I said, for those of you that are officers, read the front page of the application. Everything that you need is on there. And we have officers. I'm a new officer. I didn't know I needed a check. I didn't know I needed a lease. I didn't know I needed a contract. All you had to do was read that front page. And I'm the first one that every realtor that comes in, I ask them, that's my first question. Ask Stuart, because he's always there. Did you read the front page? No, why should I? Because it tells you, must be returned to the association, not to UCO. It's right there. So familiarize yourself with those forms. Certification, just brought up. As of July 1st, 2024, the certification class is now 4 hours. That 4-hour class must be taken by anybody that's been elected. You have usually 90 days in which to do it. Okay? The update to that, years ago, when you did your 1.5 hours, 2 hours, that was good for 5 years, 7 years, whatever it was. Well, now you need the 4-hour class and a 1-hour update every year thereafter that you are on the board. If you skip a year, you have to start all over again. You gotta go back to 4 years. And for those of you that say, well, that's not fair, if you are an HOA, which we're not, you have to do 4 hours a year. Every single year, if you're an HOA. We're not, we're a condo. So you gotta do 4 hours the first time and 1 hour thereafter. Make sure that when you get your certificate of completion, you give it to the secretary and it's available in your building. Don't bring it to UCO, but bring it to your building.
Don't forget, Fausto, if they don't get certified within 90 days, they're off the board automatically.
You need to be certified. And go ahead.
All right, we had our annual meeting in March,
Right.
so now it's November, and the
Doesn't
law
matter.
didn't go into effect until July.
July 1st.
Yeah.
So as of July 1st, we're now November, in order to sit on your board, okay, you need the 4-hour certification class. Originally, we were told it's going to be in classroom only,
What if it's after the 90 days?
but
You know,
you're in the 2024 election cycle. You're not going to have your annual election until 2025.
Right.
So this refers to 2025. If you're planning to go on the board for 2025, you know you're going to be an officer, go to the next certification class, so you'll be ahead of the game. Okay?
Pastor,
Yes?
may I make a recommendation? I came here 14 years ago. For the last 12 years, every year I have attended the expo downtown.
Yep.
You can get these hours knocked out of the way. And I was certified long before I even thought about being on the board. But there's good information at the expo.
That's what I do. I recommend people to go there and learn. But Judy, I went in October of 23. I went in March of 2024. I went in July of 2024, and then I just went last month in October for the 4-hour class. So I've taken that certification class 4 times in less than 12 months. Okay?
It's free parking and it's free lunch.
It's free, there's a lot of information over there, and every time that you go, you learn something new. Okay?
Where is it?
It's at the Condo Expo Center downtown, the convention center. Okay, I believe the next class that's scheduled for West Palm Beach is in February. If you go on your computer, put HOA Condo Expo of Palm Beach, it'll list the dates of the night. You can go online, you register online. It's a pretty easy process, and there's something there for everybody. Every time you go, you learn something new. Plus, there's vendors there, if you need a painter, if you need a contractor, that are there. So, and, yes,
I had a flood. 3 days after the flood, I went to the expo. And as fate would have it, I stopped at an Ask Me table and told the gentleman there the problem that I was having. Long story short, a bid that was given to me for $60,000, after I gave it to the Ask Me man, that bill came down to $38,000. My original bid, they knew I knew what in the hell I was doing or talking about. And this gentleman came in and sat down, went through my insurance policy and said, I can help you, we're going to do this, this, that. And this all came as a result of me going to the expo and asking questions.
knowledge is power. Okay.
Fausto, did you say they're going to have it online before?
My understanding, if you can get one that's online, I know that Mark Friedman did one, but we were told that that is now no longer going to be offered, and I know that some attorneys are squeaking because it means money to them.
Yes.
So, but we were told it had to be in classroom. So if you can get one online that's being certified by DVPR, by all means do it. If not, make sure you go to the next Condo Expo.
Oh, it has to be at the Expo then. So it's
Right,
not
it'll
gonna
be available. I'm not available. I know that people have asked if Mark was gonna come and do it here. He has not been approved to do that. That's why you don't have it. Okay? Delegates should be attending meetings every single month. You should have some kind of representation at delegates. It's the first Friday of every month. We don't stay there 4 or 5 hours anymore, usually in an hour and a half to 2 hours, we get it done. A lot of information is given out there, and you can voice your opinion, whether we're doing a good job or bad job, and we try to make it as positive as we possibly can. I know that in the past, there was a lot of negativity about this, that, the other thing. We try to keep it on a positive beat. I know a lot of people feel that we have too many politicians, but those politicians come to help us occasionally. The last there was, for those of you that were here when Brian Mast came in, and he asked to come in at the very last minute, he sent a letter opposing the development of the La Quinta. Okay, so, and we've asked him for another letter also, and he's agreed to help us. So, they can help us. Officers should have a list of every single unit owner of your building. It's amazing, like Donald has a problem. Who lives in that apartment? I don't know. Patricia started something in my building years ago, Seacrest Building, in November. She asked Seacrest to give her a list as of December, who the current owners are in the building. They can do that. They're the ones that know that.
I would also suggest that you have an ICE form in case of an emergency.
Right.
Unfortunately, I've said this before, we have an occasion in my building where 2 people passed away and we had to contact the next of kin. And the ICE form, I just go to my ICE form and I get the number of the person I have to call, or if there's an issue in the condo or something. And I think it's a good idea if every board should have a file with the name of the owner and who to contact in case of an emergency.
All right. The next one, this is a word everybody hates. It's called a corporate seal. And either the president, the secretary, or the treasurer feels that gives them the right to be the pope of the building. Without that, corporate seal should not be more than 40 miles away from your condo association. Doesn't belong in Canada, Chicago, New York. It belongs with your building. Should you have an officer that makes it disappear or takes it with him, go on Amazon, go to Staples, and get yourself a new one. That corporate seal is what you need to conduct business for your building, and it should not leave the building. I know that people say, without this, you can't do anything. Not true. Donald orders several of them a year for individual associations.
Yeah,
So
so
that
on
you can-
Amazon.
So anyway, I also I have 3 corporate seals just in case. Go on Amazon, you get it within less than a week.
And some of us have trouble with the seal because of arthritis, going like, you're doing it right now, right?
Right.
They make one that's like a punch.
Yeah, stamp.
You just stamp it.
Okay. All right, so you have a new unit owner. You have a new renter. Please inform them. We do have a newcomers package, which WPRF has input on. UCO has input on it. Usually when they get their ID, they're given a package. If they're not, they can come to the UCO office and we will give them a package. And it's basically what WPRF does, what UCO does, and it gives them what's available in the village, okay? Make them available of the UCO reporter. People are looking for painters, they're looking for lawyers, they're looking for electricians, whatever, yeah.
Both
Okay.
sides.
And we update that package at least once a year. It wasn't always done that way, but now the information that's in there is as current as it could possibly be. Okay?
You should think about also new owners package for your association, so that when you may want to give them a brief overview of what your rules and regulations are. And again, speak to my building, again, I prepared a new owner's packet, I give it to each new owner that just goes through what they should know about my building and what they have to do and not do.
Community channels, 590, 591, 592. Make the unit owners, residents available of those. Like I said before, there's a lot of information over there, and the community website. Joanne usually monitors that site on a daily basis. There is some interaction on there. If you want to ask some questions or something, put it in there. You'll get a response. All work done on the building, whether you're an owner or a resident, if you're going to have work done, you must notify your association. You must give them a copy of the license and a copy of the insurance form that the individual that's doing work is licensed and insured to do business in the state of Florida. Yes.
Half the people doing work, especially around my area, Somerset area, these handymen think they're contracted. They don't know the definition, contractor handyman. I had one call me the other day, new person moving, can I widen the kitchen window?
It's a common element of the building, no.
But I said, let me see your license, and I want blueprints, the whole gamut. He didn't realize it was a handyman.
Well, this is what I'm saying. If you have a new unit owner, you gotta tell them up front. If you're gonna do anything in your building, in this building, the interior walls are owned by the association, not by you.
But they're hiring people who make, the guys are telling them, I'm a contractor. They're not. They're handymen.
Right. And
The
if that's,
point-
okay.
Sorry, the point here is that before any work can be done in your building, they must come to the association board. They must present the association board with license, insurance, plans, blueprints, etc., and a specific list of what's going to be done. And the board has to sign off allowing them to do that work. If the board doesn't, if the board doesn't sign off, they can't do the work. And especially, maybe Donald will want to pick up about common elements, what can and cannot be done, but the board has certain ways of preventing and stopping the work, and that involves with your management association. Somebody's doing work that is illegal, and the management association will send a letter out with a request to stop work. I know that Donald maybe will tell you that what the inspectors can or cannot do, which we have had a number of times.
Yeah. All right, so when it comes to projects in units, unit owners are changing out windows, putting up blinds, changing a faucet, sink. There's two sides of each one of these projects. One is the county side. Does the work require a permit? The answer is yes or no. The other side is the condominium administrative side. And if the condominium board is doing their job, any work in that, I don't care what it is, whether it's hanging Venetian blinds or changing the flusher on the toilet, whatever it is, they should be going and giving the board notification that work is happening. And then the board has to make a judgment call. Is this something that simple handyman work? Because you can't get on top of everything. There's not enough time in the world, right? But you should be training your unit owners that they should pick up a screwdriver in that place, and they should be doing no work on their own. This is not individual home. You don't get to do DIY work in your apartment. That the apartment building belongs to everybody, not just them. So, we're not saying you gotta keep an eye on everything. It's impossible. We can't. But changing a window, absolutely. You want to see licensure. You want to see a permit.
Changing the windows.
You want to see the specs on the windows.
Changing the windows, one thing. Widening the window is a whole.
That's a no-go, right? That wall does not belong to that, that's an exterior wall, it does not belong
Right.
to the unit
I
owner.
actually thought it was a joke. I said, are you
No,
joking?
you, I don't anymore, because, you know, you have people that say, well, I want a bay window, you know, nothing surprises me anymore.
But Donald, so in the 1999 UCO master agreement,
Yeah,
okay?
out of box.
So, because I've had this challenge, you know, if somebody's just gonna paint their walls, or they're going to change a cabinet, okay? Does it clearly state in that UCO master, I've looked, that you have to tell the board?
No, that's not there.
What's that?
It's not in the model box, no.
Okay, so how do you have a right to, you can ask someone out of courtesy to let us know, but we can't demand that.
The board has a duty of care obligation to make sure that everybody working in that building is adequately licensed and credentialed and insured. That just goes without saying. If you guys want to if you have a question, or whether you think you have the right to stop a particular piece of work, or question a piece of work, check with your attorney.
There's also a pamphlet that tells you what you don't need a permit,
Exactly.
or you do need a permit.
Speaking of that pamphlet,
Right.
everybody, I'm gonna straighten some out. If you read the pamphlet, if you're changing the front door of your apartment, do you need a permit?
Yeah.
You do. Most people read it and they don't finish the whole sentence. It says you don't need it if you're a 1 or 2 family house. Otherwise, you do need it. So, but if you're gonna have somebody paint the inside of the apartment, it's not a big deal. But we'll give you an example in a certain building that we won't mention, Helene, where a gentleman came in and said, I got a building permit, I'm changing the sink. The president went back 3 days later and there was no walls inside the whole apartment. They got gutted.
You made a loft.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. It's up to the board members to stay on top of it, of what you're actually going to do. And if the guy comes in and says, I'm only gonna paint my walls, and you hear a hammer and a chisel going for 10 hours, you wanna walk in that apartment and say, what are you painting?
Got it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
you
you
could
gotta
also-
stay on top of it.
You could also go online for 2 things. One, you could go online to the county and see if a permit was pulled. And you could, it's right there, it'll tell you when it was pulled, what inspections were done. If it wasn't, also you could go online and check the license of a contractor. And there are 2 websites, one for, you know, I don't know the exact ones, but I know you can go online to check for both of those things.
And Mr. Brenner, and I'll be quick, Faust.
Yeah.
To your question about whether you have the right to question what's going on in the units, in the hierarchy of documents, starting with your articles of corporation, at the very bottom of that hierarchy are rules and regulations. The board may set reasonable rules and regulations for mundane things. Now, whether you wanted to make a rule saying everything that gets done in the units should be brought to the board's attention, that could be a rule and regulation. You've got to check with your attorney to see if that's appropriate.
Sure.
Right?
Got it. Hey,
I
by
got-
the way, Don, it's Candell, not Brenner.
I'm sorry.
That's
So
okay.
I got it, let me finish.
No problem.
I got 3 more items to go over. A new owner should be explained what a common element of the building is. If you're not familiar with a common element of the building, make yourself familiar. Like the young lady over there said, somebody wants to replace a window that's bigger than what's there. The walls are a common element of the building. The interior walls are a common element of the building. They cannot be altered without the individual voting on it. Now, some removing an interior wall, they want an open floor plan. Some buildings, depending on what's in your bylaws, may require 100% vote of every single unit owner if that can be done or not. The board does not have the authority to do that. You need, and this is why you need the attorney. The attorney will tell you, yes. You know, you don't need an attorney to tell you the guy's gonna paint the building. But if a gentleman says, you know, I wanna replace my kitchen cabinets, I wanna take down this wall, talk to your attorney and find out what's in your documents, what percentage. Some say 50%, some say 2/3. And there are associations where we've seen it requires a vote of 100% of the unit owners. And that was put in there for a reason. All right, the other thing, it's called the Corporate Transparency Act. We're coming down to the wire. That needs to be done by December 31st of 2024.
As of yesterday, it's July 1st.
Oh, they moved it up? They-
July 1st, Judge Becker, Mark Friedman just sent out an email, which I got yesterday, because of Hurricane Milton, they have extended the deadline to July 1st, 2025.
And that's for Palm Beach County?
Yes,
Particular.
yes.
Right, exactly.
There are 52 counties involved.
I apologize for not being updated on that, but thank you, gentlemen, for letting me know. All right, the last thing is websites. Part of the July mandates that came into 718, up until July 1st, in order to have a website for your building, you had to have 150 units. As of July 1st, it's now down to 25 units. So if you have more than 25 units in your building, you need to have a website for your building. Look at this as a blessing, because all your documents, all your information can be put on that website. And in the past, as an officer, you could say, I don't have my governing documents, I don't have my bylaws, go ask somebody else. Well, you can't do that anymore. You have to make a good, conscious effort to fill that individual's responsibility. And if you don't, and the person makes a complaint, you're gonna receive a letter or a call from DBPR saying, why are you not fulfilling your responsibility? So, I'm recommending that whether you have 10 units or 25 units, 24, get a community website. Your information that you give out for building permits, a lot of people want mitigation reports. All that stuff can be put on the website, and you can give the individuals. You just go to the website, and you can look up for what the governing documents, bylaws, financials. How many people say, I need the financials? What, how much money? What's my budget? You can direct them to there, and they'll have all their answers, and it'll make your life a lot easier. So, like I said, the requirement right now is 25 units or more. I recommended that everybody does it.
Has to be done by 2026,
Yeah.
because you have another year to work on it.
Right.
And there are many third-party people now out there who are more than willing to help you do that website, for a fee, obviously, but they will do it for you and help you along the way to get it done.
That's the last thing on my agenda. Now, I'm going to try to keep it for like 15 minutes for questions. And when we leave here, we're having a memorial for David Israel, past president, in the party room. So we will have some refreshments and coffee. We'll open it up to questions. Yes, ma'am, you have your hand up.
My name is Renate. I'm in the...
Could you go up to the mic?
There's a microphone right there. Just turn it.
There you go, there.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Renate. I'm in Coventry B. I just have the question. We all probably got a letter in the mail about the proposed land use next door on...
Yes.
Yes. My question is, do we get involved in that?
You can.
Yes.
Yes?
That letter was so, because you live within a certain radius of that
Yes.
property, that's to give you the opportunity to show up at the hearing and speak your mind.
Right. But my question is now, get Central Village, we all, or you, the board, get involved into that, or we do have to do that single?
Well, you can do it singly, but and we will do what we have to do.
You will do so too, right?
And I received a phone call from the community right behind there.
Yes.
They're individual homes, and the president of the HOA over there asked me to reach out to her that we could do something to prevent the rehab center from becoming a
That's
reality.
right. Yes, I had the question of a former co-worker of mine too about it, and she said, please ask if we get involved in that. So I can tell her it will be, right?
Definitely, we're not happy to have a rehab
Right.
center where people can just jump over the fence.
Yeah, and it says not only rehab, it is institutional. So
Okay.
it's very good. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Hi, Nico. as I was saying before, about the tennis courts. I'm gonna call them tops, I don't know what you call them, screens.
Again,
It's gotta go to the operations.
You know
The
what,
20
after the meeting, when they adjourn, come and
Okay.
talk separately, okay?
Either that or you can come to the operations on the 26th. Yes, ma'am?
Hi, I have a question on Breeze Line. Is there any update on?
On what?
Are you negotiating with Breeze Line?
No, those are all rumors that are being passed by someone that has attended some of our meetings. Hold on a second. I will give you the rundown. Okay.
I had somebody in my building who told me that their TV went out. When they called Breeze Line, they said that they're not issuing new boxes. They're all refurbished, and they're not
Okay.
gonna work on.
Well, all right. So I'll explain to you, but I'll give you the long and short version. The long version is we have a 10-year contract and we're 5 years into the contract. We have 5 years left. In the contract states that between year 3 and 5, if there's an update in technology, which is different boxes, different system, they would bring it to us, and it would be up to us if we wanted to accept it, reject it, or hold off. When they came 18 months ago, we asked, well, how many people have internet inside from you? They could not give us a number. The number that we got was probably under 50%. Okay? So now they come back, and I think the number is 64 or 65%. 64% have internet through Breeze Line, number one. Plus, there's about a percentage, 2,500, I believe, something like that. It's about 2,000 people that have seasonal people, they have AT&T, they have Comcast, they have other. So the village is probably 85% with internet. The new equipment that you're talking about, there were supposed to be only 2 boxes. The little small DGA box and the TiVo box. The TiVo box requires that you have internet service. Somewhere along the line in the very beginning, they said, well, we have these other boxes that you don't have to have internet, but you can record programs. Though the service of that box and the manufacturer of the box does not exist anymore. They have stopped servicing those boxes. So somebody is refurbishing those boxes because there's no new boxes available. As far as the internet part of it, that is what we're waiting for. We just had a meeting on Wednesday. Breeze Line has not come up with a price yet to combine that everybody would have internet service, because it's part of, everybody would have to pay for it. You would not be able to opt out because it's a bulk agreement. Okay? And that would require for what do you call it? Streaming? Right. It would eliminate a lot of the issues that we're having, because all those cables and all those wires that you have running all over the place would be done away with. Okay? But we have 5 years left on the contract. It's not 3, it's not 2, it is 5 years. And as far as any decisions being made, the decision will be ultimately by the delegates. We, as officers and the committee, will try to negotiate a good package. If we need an attorney, if we need a specialist, we will get to that point, but we have nothing on the table, okay? The only thing we have is an idea that they want to do away with the TiVo box and come up with a different system that's wireless. So that's their proposal. We have no price, we have no timeline. But when the time comes and we feel comfortable with whatever is being proposed, it will come for the committee, we'll bring it to the officers will bring it to the executive board, and the final decision is by the delegates. So that pretty much covers the history, yes?
Who chose Breeze Line?
Your delegates did, you did. Your delegates found Breeze Line, signed for the contract, yes.
They're just all fired.
Well,
You were a delegate, I believe you voted.
But I
Did you-
didn't hear anything about it till after the
voted
fact.
against
I don't have internet, but yet I have to pay for it, because without internet, I don't get Wi-Fi, and I don't get service.
Well, that's internet.
That's internet.
That's what Wi-Fi is internet.
So just for that one little thing, I'm paying $50 a month.
Well-
Where's Comcast?
Well,
84.
I'm not a fan of Comcast, but just to let you know, I moved a half a mile, and my service went from $45 to $85, okay? And when I tried to move into my apartment, I went to Comcast 6 times in one day because I got bad boxes. Okay?
I thought
but-
I read the contract for Breezeline and Century Village that it's a 10-year contract.
It is.
But
I just said.
Either party could cancel.
Absolutely.
That's,
We haven't found anything better.
Grace, would you like a copy of that contract?
No, dear.
Okay. All right.
If anybody would like a
Are
copy.
any other,
Yes,
do we have
I
any?
am confused
Yes.
because a couple of my neighbors have come to me and bought me their Breezeline bill. Prior to all of this negotiation, they were not receiving a bill at all. Then all of a sudden, out of clear blue sky, they're getting a bill.
Yes.
These are seniors who really don't know what is going on.
Well,
And I've asked them, where are you paying this bill? Why haven't you gone to Breezeline? And I'm telling you from my own experience, they sent me a bill. You know how much my bill was? 0. Why would you waste the time to send me a bill for 0?
again, I don't know, but in a lot of cases, the people that have the recording boxes that are no longer available and wish to record movies are told that they have to buy the TiVo system. They have to subscribe to that in order to be able to record, and that's when they're getting a bill for that. If you don't have that, there's no bill.
They're not doing anything. It just came out the clear blue sky. One day
Tell them to
there's a
come
bill
in the
today.
office, I want to see those bills.
Mine is trash because I
Okay?
pulled them out.
Yes, ma'am.
Yesterday, I was watching TV. I'm gonna say Channel 4, and all of a sudden a thing comes on, the picture goes out and it says, you cannot watch this channel because you do not subscribe to it.
It happens. It happens. But did you contact the vendor? Let him know that that happened?
Because I'm so tired of talking to them, I don't even want my thoughts.
Well, if you have an issue that you feel that it's overwhelming you, come in the office and see me, and I will try my best to rectify it. Do we have any other questions that we could possibly answer?
Can I make an observation, please?
Sure.
There were, we had the Comcast contract. And sitting, when we had the Comcast people into our office to discuss the contract that we were working on, I don't know if this is on. Okay. I sat next to the vice president of Comcast, and one of the members of the committee said, because you're charging X amount of money for people to come to fix a problem that you have, we're not going to renew your contract. The man looked at the person, smiled and said, so what? As a result, we were stuck with the alternative, a Canadian company, which is now Breezeline after they changed their name, and this is what we're dealing with. These are arrogant companies who are the only games in town, and all of the issues that you have been talking about or have happened to you, very difficult to resolve. The only thing we could say is that we have a dedicated line for Century Village, and if you call them, hopefully you'll get something done immediately or very, very soon. But that's the way it is.
Stu, we also have on the property.
Right.
Yeah, oh, and you have an office on property. I have a question mark after that too, but
Well,
depends on, you know, how strong you are when you talk to them.
Stuart, let's look at the positive things before we go further. No rolling fee. If your remote control goes bad, you call up and they come to your house and they don't charge you the $60. Any repair work that's done, for whatever the reason, you're not charged for that. And we have people that, you know, I know that they ran out of remote controls. Evidently, they had some kind of an issue in-house. Somebody was supposed to order 1,000 remote controls, and the paperwork got lost. So they went like a week without remote control, but it was taken care of. We do have an on-site office that will handle your issues if you have to make changes. And we have a dedicated service person that we contact, Donald, myself, or Joanne, we call them, and they will respond to your specific needs. And I'm 100%, I have not heard anybody come back and say they could not fix my issues. Okay? So, in all positive things, okay, I think that they're doing a pretty good job. It's like everything else.
Look at all the extra channels we're getting.
You got 300 channels, you got whatever. And again, you're looking at the small picture. I had an incident where this woman called me 17 times. The service is bad, blah, 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 blah. So they made 5 trips to the house. And guess what? She had a bad television. It had nothing to do with BreezeLine. She had a Philco television, you know, one of those this wide, that needed to be replaced. But she was blaming, the tech would come in, get it working, and then every time she shut it off, it wouldn't turn back on. But she blamed BreezeLine. Yes, ma'am?
I'm Canadian, and I had the same issue at home. When the box went, they came in and said, you need Wi-Fi. No one in North America is making those old VCRs, so
Right.
It's not only here, it's up north.
Yeah, it's across the industry.
Yeah, you have to just suck it up and get.
Well, I mean, we want to try to get you the best price for your money. Yes, Judy?
I want to go on a high note.
Yes.
Are we decorating the trees for Christmas?
I have no
The lights
idea. The
going-
man that's in charge of the toilets and the trees just left. But we tried. All right.
I just want to add one more thing. This is the 20th year that I've been in Century Village. I've been here since Kurt Weiss was president. And I have to tell you that this administration is one of the most educational, open, out there with people, helping people. And I'm telling you, I'm talking from experience. I said it's the 20th year here. And kudos to my fellow officers here because they are the best.
Thank you, Jerry. I know that Patricia stepped out. I think she went into the break room. But pertaining to transportation, if anybody has issues with the transportation, please don't call, please do not email. There are forms available at the front desk, and they're also available at the UCO office. We need a time, we need a bus, the route number, and the date. Originally, when they first came in, there was 1 camera on the bus. Now, every bus has a minimum of 7 cameras. About 2 months ago, we had a woman make a complaint that the bus driver assaulted her. And, I mean, that's a terrible thing when a bus driver, well, guess what? When we actually gave it to Academy and they witnessed the video, it's the other way around. The woman assaulted the driver. So, but we need the time and the bus and everything else. Okay, yes?
I just want to say when people go on the board, they should go on the board, be willing to do something. I have new windows put in, and I was given a copy to give to a board member, and when I went and knocked on her door, she said to me, oh, go give them to so-and-so that she knew is renting out her condo because she's not living here. So I crawled up to the 2nd floor, took them to a guy's place, only to find out 2 days later he no longer lives here, and the papers disappeared. So if you don't want to do the job, you shouldn't be on the board.
And I personally recommend that every board has at least 2 or 3 people that live here year-round.
Well,
And husband and wife don't count.
this person was the only one that was around.
Well, you should have hold on to it. Okay, I'm gonna,
Make a motion to adjourn?
all right, sounds good. Thank you very much. If you can, please come and have donuts and coffee with us.